some other people who've worked for years. Do you want to say anything?
Just sorry. I didn't know I was going to be funny in the deep end.
No, I wasn't planning to cut you on that, but
no, I just my name's Nick Burton, and tower, and my wife is part of Grenfell. She's number 72. She's died in hospital, and I've been on a journey. I mean, after Grenfell 2019, I went travelling. I had to go away. That solace was my way of dealing with what happened. But on my journey, actually, every single country that I went to, I went away for 9 months, not to prison, travelling, and I went to 23 countries, and every single country I visited fire stations, and it was so surprising that every single place from Addis Ababa to Queenstown in New Zealand knew exactly about Grenfell. And this is actually on a global scale. This corruption and all the things for the corporation is on a global scale. They've all had to check their own buildings, and I visited some of the places where there were fires, from Melbourne to Beijing to Dubai. So there was other places, towers that I visited, which also had fires in it. So the warnings were there, but of course this was the biggest crime that this country's ever seen since this century. And so I've been kind of advocating for the fire brigade. So I know, the stress and the strains of what happened on that night and all the stuff that the guys had to do. And what you guys do on a daily basis, and of course with the lack of equipment and all the stuff that you've been fighting for, we do have a world-class fire system. It's probably the best in the world, but you still need support and still need the equipment to do your job safely for yourself. So, but yeah, I just I joined the forum, so to check over your presentations and everything else like this, to keep an eye on stuff. But I'm very proud and honoured to. Thank you, Matt. Anyway, right, thank you, Matt.
The day I came to the fire, I mentioned that Theresa May came, and to be honest, I think she was genuinely shaken, and rightly so, by what she saw. The then commissioner introduced her to us, but sometime later this man arrived, and I've got to say the atmosphere was very different. The firefighters wanted to engage with Jeremy, but also then, if you saw the news at the time, the local community then engaging, and Jeremy spent a great deal of time talking to people in the local community.
Is the real Prime Minister here? The people's Prime Minister? Yeah. Amen to that.
Again, a long-time friend of the Fire Brigade Union, Jeremy Coleman.
Matt, thank you. I will never forget that day, seeing Matt, obviously with other people, but just talking to you and your colleagues. And there were tears in your eyes, there was exhaustion in your faces, there was despair because of what you'd seen, what you'd witnessed, what you'd tried to do to save lives of our community. And you're the very best of the best anywhere in the country in caring for people. And I will not hear one word against your union or your profession or the work that you do. Thank you for everything you did that day and everything you do every day to try and save life. The real reason 72 people died was greed, was corruption, was incompetence, and was sticking overcrowded class families in tiny flats without any proper means of survival or escape during a catastrophe. Everything that's wrong with this country. Greed, incompetence, inequality, and extolling the virtues of personal wealth over the value of decency and community services as a whole. Your union has always stood for fire safety. Going back, Buncefield, going back to Lackland House, going back to so many places where you've stood up for real safety of our community. And to be a friend of the Fire Brigade Union. You very kindly gave me a 25-year badge, when I'd done 30 years in Parliament. And I've just finished doing 40 years in Parliament. So Matt, there's a mug on
40-year badge, okay.
There's a mug on its way to your office with 40 on it. But I just want to say thank you so much, and being here today has meant an awful lot to the families, because you know what it's like if you lose a loved one. Yes, we all lose loved ones, usually in natural circumstances, but not always. When you've lost somebody in a fire, in an accident, in a flood, it goes through your mind again and again and again and again. What could have been done to save that life? And so the families here today are reliving all that. And I just noticed when they saw your colleagues under the bridge by Lambert Grove, the immediate empathy and warmth towards the firefighters was there by all the survivors. Enough from me. Thank you, my friends, very much.
Okay. Right, everybody, the Elgin pub, straight down the road to the end and turn right at the T-junction, and there's food in there for you.
And I'm the only non-drinking friend of the firefighters.
Matt's car's behind the bar, so maybe not. For food. Okay.
Where are you?
Yeah, no problem, my friend. Thank you very much. So I can come over, so all agree.
I want to say hi to Mike. How are you doing, bro? Good to see you.
There's plenty of use these ones. You know, can I do one? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a problem. What should I
But there's a really nice
I don't think I would have.
And you know, they weren't, of course, because there was no burn. But anyhow, once the school was finished, and the matches.
So 6 years on Grenfell Tower. I came down here the next day with Piers Corbyn. We did an interview in front of the empty shell building that was there. In the first part of the inquiry, they did blame the fire brigade for not going in. The idea, of course, was to shift the blame away from the cladding. And I went round at the time to buildings that had been clad by the same company. And from one building to another, we went round in Westminster and also in Balham. And they'd basically been doing this to beautify the buildings. There is an aspect, of course, of this which within the fire brigade could be questionable, and that is the issue of decision making. So decision making powers within bureaucracies. Why, when you saw the fire burning up the building, did you not change your policies? And of course, I think this is a reflection, has a connection to the pandemic type policies. You know, once a bureaucracy has made a decision, it takes action according to that decision. And so in many ways there's some similarity with that, failing to go in and or telling people to stay in place when that was obviously not relevant in the circumstances. So that's one thing that the Tories managed to push as a mechanism to blame the fire brigade for what happened. But of course, the key issue is why was the cladding there? That was the central issue there, and the danger of the cladding, and then why does the fire brigade not have, you know, like they go over Canada now and they drop water from helicopters onto the building? Why are there no helicopters? You know, why is there no cranes or ladders that could reach up to people? And it took them years to decide that the cladding played a role. And yet I remember on the day watching the videos of people observing it, and they were saying, it's going up the cladding, it's going up the cladding, it's the cladding, you know. And even at the time when you went around from building to building and talked to people who were living in the different buildings involved, the authorities were still in denial. I remember Westminster Council, took about 4 or 5 weeks before they did anything at the buildings concerned. Anyway, you got a sense of the atmosphere. A lot of the people here had friends or family were connected in some way with the building. And in this area, I live around the corner from here. In this area, there are a lot of people who have some association with someone who died, or know someone who was family of someone who died there. So it was a tragedy for the area. Jeremy Corbyn was speaking earlier on about, or people were speaking about Jeremy Corbyn's role at the time, sort of representative of the mass of the people, and they liked the idea that he was standing up for people. It was that kind of impression that was given at that time. Unfortunately for him, he was stuffed by his own side. You can't explain Starmer's rise otherwise. He was stuffed by his own side, and even unfortunately by his own team, the people surrounding him, the people encircling him, and eventually the people who strangled him were on his own side. John McDonnell and the others who smiled and claimed to be great allies and friends, now sidling up to Keir Starmer and supporting the war in Ukraine. Anyways, things have moved on a long way. But this is again a sort of marker, one of the great markers in British politics and British social understanding about crisis in society. The Grenfell Towers certainly will go down as one of the great markers of. This video is cutting in and out. If the video is very poor, then I'll upload a higher quality version if it got saved. Alright, see you later.